Hello everyone. I'm going to make a big platter today. This is not the biggest one I make. This is 15 pounds of clay. I also make one from 25, which is got a little more wow factor, but I currently don't really need any of those. And I'm going to throw on my electric wheel because my treadle wheel has a really lightweight flywheel, and I just can't handle it's just too much clay for the treadle wheel. Now I used to make these on my kick wheel. I have a Thomas Stewart kick wheel, and I don't center this whole entire lump of clay at once, which is the way I used to do it. I actually beat it out into sort of a donut shape and then throw it from there. And I first saw that in Susan Peterson's Hamada book years and years and years ago, and started doing it when I was in college, unsuccessfully, but with enough practice that it's actually much easier. You don't break a sweat. So I'll show you that real quick. You want to get this as close to the center as possible. What I'm going to do is just start hitting from the top and the side, sort of trying to flatten it out like a pancake. And the reason you hit from both at once is because if you just hit straight down, you'll start folding this clay over itself. So you have to keep from the side and the top at once. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a fist, just start beating the middle out here. But I'm not going to beat it completely flat. I'm going to punch a hole in the middle, and then I'm gradually going to start punching out, and I'm going to dish that shape a little bit because I'm not making a flat platter. I'm making just like a really shallow bowl. So now we're going to start throwing. And what I'm going to do is first sort of smooth out this interior real quick. And then I'm going to center this wall and then pull it out. And to center this wall, I'm just squeezing from each side. So I'm pushing in with this hand, and I'm holding it like this because I don't feel like I have as much strength doing this. So I'm making a fist and then kind of squeezing it, and then I'm also squeezing it with this hand. So I'm pushing in, pushing down, and pushing out. So I'm basically just like centering, but I'm just centering the wall here. And that sure is a whole heck of a lot easier than trying to center that 15 pound lump of clay and then trying to open it and bring it out. I throw with this big rib. This is a Kemper, just the big one. So now I'm gonna start squeezing in right here, and I'm pulling all the way from the base. So I drag my hand across the inside here, and sort of scoop this clay together, and bring it out. Because if I just pulled this right here, I wouldn't get a very big platter. It's really important to keep compressing the rims on these things, otherwise they like to crack. I didn't mention this, but I left the base, it's about that thick right now. And every time I pull, I take just a, it seems like I move about 1/8 of an inch down because I pull my hand all the way across the bottom. I don't know why, it's just the way I do it. And then when I go and do the final compression, that'll bring it down just a little bit more, and it'll end up being around 1 inch or so. I like to put a nice foot on these things. So I'm starting with just a really shallow bowl, and then I'll refine the shape a little bit later on. And the key to making these things work is that you have to leave more clay right here. This area kind of right here can be sort of finished on the wheel, but everything else needs to be thicker because you have to leave lots of clay here to support this shape, especially if your clay is really soft. Mine's a little stiffer today than normal. So I could probably stretch it a little farther than I normally would. And I know I could stretch this farther and get it thinner, but I really kind of at a stage where I'm past the macho throwing thing, and even though I could make this a little thinner, I'd rather not risk it. I'd rather just have a finished pot and not have to work harder, and then just trim the extra clay out later. Okay. Now I'm just going to compress the bottom. The great thing about this method, punching the clay, I've yet to have an S-crack on one of these since I started doing this. Still sometimes, every once in a while, I'll get a crack on the rim or a crack on the foot, but I've never had a crack right in the middle. I think it's the punching just compresses that clay, but it doesn't hurt to go back with the rib and do some more. Now I'm pushing the rib pretty hard against my fingers here, and I'm actually pulling the clay just a little bit, so you'll see it gets just a little bit wider. And the thing you have to watch out for is this area right here, where you have this large lump of clay underneath here that's supporting the platter. And then you shift to this area where there's not that extra clay anymore. It's thicker, but there's not the clay underneath it all the way down to the bat. And if you rib too hard when you hit that spot, you'll get this weird hump in the platter. And so you really have to be careful when you go through that spot. I have a something here. Air bubble maybe? Not really sure. I think that looks pretty good to me. don't use a chamois because they always end up in the slip or something. And I end up having to sponge this rim after I slip them anyway, so any work a chamois would do would be completely pointless. So that's pretty good. So this is, right now, this is about 18 inches, I think. I see that I have just a little. There we go. Now to undercut these, I use this tool, and I undercut all my pots with this. This is a Dolan trimming tool that comes to a sharp point, and it's easier than the pointed stick for me anyways. I never really got the hang of that. You gotta go down with the stick and scrape it away and whatever. This thing will do it all at once. You just stick it in there and it scoops the clay away. Gives you a nice undercut for your wire. I guess we'll call that done. Yeah, gotta stop messing with it. This is the point where they tend to collapse because they're done, but you're like, oh, I can tweak this a little bit, and then it's, you gotta start it. So we'll call it good. Have a good day.